Hi, it's Jen from Shabby Fabrics with a show-stopping quilt for you today. This is that pineapple quilt. We all know them. We all love them. This is a magic combination of Kaffe Fassett. We all know Kaffe Fabrics, of course, and Prism by Jason Yenner. He's that powerhouse designer from In the Beginning Fabrics, and I could not decide between the two men's collections, so I combined them. And that's what you're seeing here. This is those types of quilts, I call them showstoppers, because you don't just walk by a quilt like this, you're like, wow. You want to stop and really study all of the different intricacies. And one of the things I love particularly about Kaffe Fabrics are 5 people could buy the same kit, and depending on where you make your cuts, the blocks will look different. And I think that makes that really exciting. We are literally getting that fabric headed this way. You have a chance to just deposit $10 and know that one of these kits we're putting together will have your name on it. For me, I like that. Just saying, here's my 10 bucks. When it's ready, just bill me for the difference and head it your way. And that's your opportunity for today. If you're a beginner quilter, first off, welcome. I know what that's like to be a beginner. I feel like I was a beginner for about 10 years because I didn't have time to take classes. I was busy mom, busy pilot, no time to take classes. But here's the cool thing. With the Pineapple Trim Tool by Creative Grid, this is 100% beginner friendly. In fact, at the end of this introduction video here, you'll be able to watch the tutorial I filmed years ago on a different pineapple quilt using the Pineapple Trim Tool, and you'll see Creative Grid makes products that make beginners look like pros, and I love that. Ensuring a beautiful block. This is the block here. You're simply making them all these amazing vibrant fabrics and then just sewing them together. And I think it's just such a show-stopping quilt. Of course, I've said that. These are the notions that we use to put the project together. We love Creative Grid. These are important. This is required. That's the difference between these. Any ruler can be used to be able to cut those pieces initially, but the Pineapple Trim Tool is your key to success and required for the project. And of course, it works best when it's ever in combination with a spinning mat. The spinning mat's not required, but any time that I'm going to trim something up, why not just be able to rotate that mat and make nice clean cuts? It's a great combination for any trimming tool. Any squaring up product works best with a spinning mat. And of course, the normal notions that we need for precise piecing. Our patchwork pins, the fresh blade, the fresh needle, you know the drill. But the most important thing is to reserve your kit. For the backing, we just had a black solid. So you can either grab the black solid or maybe your favorite Kaffe Fabrics or maybe even the Prism collection from In the Beginning. Again, if you're curious about how does this tool work, I can't figure that out. Well, go ahead and stay with the video once we kind of get done with the introduction, and you'll be able to watch the video I filmed years ago now showing you exactly how to use the Pineapple Trim Tool, and you will see this is absolutely beginner friendly. If you haven't subscribed, do that right now. Just pause the video, subscribe, let your friends know, and I'll see you over on that full tutorial. So the Pineapple Trim Tool was designed by Jean Ann Wright, again 6, 8, and 10 inches. And basically we start off with a center fabric and then a layer of black, a layer of color, and a layer of black. You want that high contrast to accentuate the what gives it that pineapple look. So we're always starting off with a center, no matter what size block you're making. We're going to start off with our center square, and then we'll have some rectangles, and those are always cut to at least 1 3/4 wide. Notice that it says cut strips at least 1 3/4 inch wide, and the center square is cut to 2 1/2. So depending on how big you want your block will just depend on how many rounds you do. Very straightforward in that approach. So we'll take our center square, and with our black, we will sew a 1/4 inch on seam allowance. And it doesn't matter if you do opposite sides. This doesn't matter. You just need to put a rectangle on all 4 sides. I'm inclined to sew opposites pressed to the outside, and then I'll do the other 2 opposites. So let's go do that now. You do want to have a nice, accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance. I do have my seam guide on my machine. And notice that my black here is much larger than my batik. And that is meant to be that way. So you're not wanting to trim your rectangle up to the exact size of this. It's meant to be oversized. And we'll trim on the opposite, or we'll sew on the opposite side. Same, just have about the same amount of overhang of black on either side. And then let's press to the outside. And then we'll sew the opposite. This doesn't want to, it's funny, it wants to press toward the center for some reason, but we are insisting that it press away. And here, I'll do this from the back side. Again, sew our 1/4 inch. Let me go do that, and I'll be right back. And we'll use our trim tool for the first time. Okay, now we'll press away, and it looks a little strange, but that's what it looks like. Don't even trim away the threads. That stuff drives me crazy, but it's gonna all be trimmed up here in just a moment. Everything is nicely trimmed away. Looking at our trim tool, let's examine that again. So, I'm trying to think of the best way to show you this. Here, you see this line, this is 2, 4, 6, and 8. But right there, and it may be difficult for you to see, it may be even easier on the green. This white line says centering square round 1. That's us. That's us right now. So we want to put that frame around our center square. I'm going to make a little bit of space. And this is where the spinning mat works beautifully with this tool. I'm going to keep turning the tool because I need to trim up on all 4 sides. I want to point something else out to you. Notice this line right here, this dashed line. You want to make sure that you're not just looking here at the center square, but you're looking here and here. That dashed line should be running parallel with that edge you just trimmed away. So I have a good square here, and notice I'm running nice and parallel. That is your signal that you're safe to trim away. And notice there's my beautiful 1/4 inch seam allowance. So we're going to give it another turn, and we turn our tool. Once again, my initial is, get this lined up around my center square, but notice this is kind of a little bit canted. I'm going to turn that and make it just a little bit more dialed in for the accuracy I'm looking for. And we'll give it a trim. And then one more time. See what I mean? You do not need to be an accomplished, experienced quilter to pull this off. There are some quilts that you do. This is not one of them, and I love that. You can have a beautiful show-stopping quilt, and you do not need to have had years and years of experience under your belt to make the quilt. Love that. All right. That's our very first round. Now we get to go back to adding color. I love that. It's my favorite part. Just like we did before, we will place right side together, and I want to encourage you to sew from this side because that point right there where they cross, that's where the needle needs to pass. So just plan on sewing from this side. Go ahead and plan on opposites, press to the outside. You'll add your square to this side, press to the outside. Let me go do that. We'll come back, and now we're going to use the trim, the round 2 trimming function on our ruler. So again, let's press away from our center. One thing that I should have mentioned to you is really helpful is add sizing. You know, every time I've added sizing to my fabrics before I even press and cut them, my blocks are more accurate. The fabric has more stability, more body, less stretch on the bias. So something to think about. I think more and more people are doing that and learning the benefit of sizing. So looking at our project, we did our initial round 1. Now we're over here at round 2. So let's grab our block, and we want to put our frame around that center block. Now, unlike before, remember how I could only trim up one side and I had to turn? I get 2 sides this time. So I have my dash line around my center square, and notice I have 2 white alignment lines that are dashed. Those are also something I'm taking into consideration, making sure I'm nice and squared up, rotate. Let's keep turning that. Now we know that here we're going to do the same thing around my center square, alignment right along my seam allowance, trim, trim. All right, so now we are working on round 3. I definitely want to do this with you, and I want to show you another part of the trim tool. And then after that, it becomes very repetitive as we just grow our block, repeating the steps that we've already done. So here, again, I'm going to flip this over because I want to hit that point. As the strips become longer, I'm going to start grabbing for those patchwork pins. I just don't want anything to shift. And then the same thing on the opposite. So nothing new there. Let me get those sewn. The main thing I want to show you is how to use the trim tool for round 3. It's nothing we've done thus far. So it's a new part of the tool. I'll get this sewn and pressed to the outside, and then I will show you how to trim that up. So I've added those 4 sides and pressed to the outside. And unlike the other rounds where there was overlapping, notice they don't meet in the corners. That's okay. Let's look at our tool again. And I want to point out something. 45-degree angle trim line. I always want you to see what I'm doing here. I don't know if you can read this. It's a white line, so it's easier to see on the green mat. But the wording, 45-degree angle trim line for rounds 3, 5, and 7. This was our round, this is our round 3. So where we're lining up now, that white line is going to line up here, right along there. It's going to kind of just lock right into that seam allowance. And yes, we are going to clip that corner. But look at the block here. Look at the block. It feels weird to clip a corner because I'm like, isn't the corners and the points what we're going for all along? Yes, normally that is true of a quilt block, but it is different with the pineapple trim tool. So yes, if you are trimming off a tip of what we just did, that is what you are supposed to be doing. So we will once again turn that and line that up. If you want to sit that right in that saddle so you have another alignment line, yes, you're going right along here, but you also have this. It's just a lovely reference point. And then we rotate again and make sure that we are lining up. It's easy to get mixed up. Remember, we're going to build a frame around this black portion. And we'll trim, and we'll do this one more time. Again, building our frame around this black portion. And this is our block so far. A little bit of mess there, but we are making good progress. Just like we've been doing, we can place our fabrics here. You can actually pin all of them on at the same time if you want, because you can see that they don't really overlap. And you can sew all four sides, saving yourself maybe a little bit of time. Press to the outside, and then we would, in fact, let's do that. I will do that. I will do that. And let's trim now. We did 3 on the angle with our white line. We will move to our round 4. I just want you to see this a few more times, and then we'll be on autopilot and we'll build it all the way out almost. I'll build that all the way out, almost all the way out off camera, and then we'll come back and finish up that final round together. But I am gonna go sew all 4 sides because we can here. And press to the outside. When I get back, get ready to trim for round 4. So I put the next round of orange, press to the outside. This is round 4, where we go now to center square, round 4. So we'll put the center square on, and just like that. I'm just going to rotate my mat so I'm in an optimal spot. I have all these wonderful alignment lines here running right along my seams to confirm I'm in the right spot. Once again, we get to trim up 2 sides, and we're trimming that corner. See, I'm going to clip away that corner right there, cut away that corner, and we'll rotate. Let's turn our tool so that we are once again centering around our square. We have our nice white dashed lines confirming alignment. We trim once and twice. We have just completed our round 4. We continue moving on. We continue with these rounds, alternating color and black, and a reminder that we'll be using the 45-degree angle trim line for rounds 3, 5, and 7. I'm gonna go keep adding the rounds to my block and get it to a point where we're ready to kind of enter in the final stages, and I'm gonna show you how to add that and finish up our pineapple quilt block. So we have our block to this stage, and we're ready to be trimming round 7. So I want to take you there on this one, and then we'll finish this up. This is the last round. We'll be using our white line, and we're lining that up with this beautiful dark orange, giving a trim, and we'll do that on all 4 sides. So we have our block at this stage. So let's look at where we are. We're at this point where we need to be adding in our corners here, or kind of our final stage, I should say. I shouldn't say our corner yet. We're putting this on all 4 sides. We'll trim up that round 8, and then I want to talk to you about these 4 corners. That is the final stage of our block, but I just wanted to show you that's the last of the diagonal we're using with our white line. And now we'll be using round 8 and our corners. And we have a pineapple quilt block. Super fun. By the way, if you do decide to pick up the ruler to maybe use your own fabric, or maybe you're going to be getting the Bossa Nova pineapple quilt, practice with some scrap fabric. We do not have extras of the Bossa Nova fabrics available to you. Anytime I'm using a new ruler and I'm trying to get familiar, getting comfortable, just use some scrap fabric. We know you probably have plenty of that in your stash. And that way, if you make any mistakes, no worries at all. Give you all the confidence you need going into the live fabrics that are included in your kit if you're going to be picking up that Bossa Nova kit. All right, let me get these sewn on. Press the outside. We're going to trim with round 8. So now we are ready with our round 8. That is our final round of these kind of more interior. And once again, round 8 right there is saying, line me up on that center square. That center square is a pretty important square. It's been playing an important role. So we might need to just adjust our quilt block on the table so that we can take advantage of being able to trim up 2 sides. Here is my center square. I'm going to trim 1 and 2. So we know those are done. And let's switch that around to here. Actually, I think I gave my ruler one too many rotations. That's okay. We'll just trim up the one side here. That works. And we know we have one more side to trim up with our round 8. I'm lined up here, lined up here. I love those multiple lineup locations. Even these dash lines, see them, how they're just diving into those seam allowances? So now we have our block and we simply need our corners. We will place this right side together. We have this nice overhang. I'm just going to sew that from the front. We'll sew that with a quarter inch seam allowance, press to the outside, and then we're going to use the frame of this to trim that block up. I definitely want you to see that. So I will come back. This will be pressed to the outside, and we'll do 2 final cuts, and our pineapple block will be complete. So this is what our block looks like right now. A little bit strange, right? Just 2 more cuts though, and we will be done. We've been working on the inside of this tool. Now we get to work on the outside. So as you would suspect, we will line up our tool with the edges of our block. And now we get to trim around the outside of our tool. And I love, of course, getting to not have to move that. Once I really start the trimming process, my desire is to leave the block in place, pivoting around the block whenever I can. Okay, we will need to simply move our tool now to the other sides that have not yet been trimmed. We'll line up here, here and here. There's something very satisfying about the precision of square up tools. I love that. It's what makes all the blocks come out measuring exactly what they should, so that when you're making your multiple pineapple blocks, as you can see in this quilt, it's just one block sewn together. That's it. This tool does the heavy lifting for you and makes you look like a master quilter. That's my favorite part. But it's doing all of the work, and we get to just enjoy the satisfaction that the tool produces, the accuracy that this tool produces. Look at that, a pineapple quilt block done with that tool. I couldn't pull that off without the tool. So as I said before, if you are looking to either make the Bossa Nova quilt, this is not an optional tool. This is required to make that quilt block. Whether you're using the Bossa Nova or maybe a stash of bright batiks, maybe some Kaffe at home, a really fun tool. Be sure to pick up the pineapple trim tool. You could see it works beautifully with the spinning mat. This is the 12-inch spinning mat. Not absolutely necessary, but as you can see, I think it increases the efficiency of using that tool. Thanks for giving me several minutes of your day to show you how to use the pineapple trim tool and how to make a pineapple block. I'll see you soon on another Shabby video.